baseball is very rotational sport, especially around the hips, thoracic spine. So I would include some mobility exercises with that, and then also include the speed training. And I think that's a forgotten piece. A lot of our youth athletics, we do the strength training now. We go and do our lessons. We do our hitting lessons, our fielding lessons, our pitching lessons. But we forget that, we actually need to run. Whether you're playing the outfield, the infield, whether you're running the bases, you need to be explosive. So speed work would be also included into that. And then as simple to include, you can throw it right into your warm-up. It only takes a few minutes to do some acceleration drills or some resisted running before practice. But that's what I would do. I would keep it simple and have fun with it.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Clearing the Bases, the podcast where we step up to the plate and dive deep into the world of youth baseball. I'm your host, Jimmy Filangieri. On this show, we discuss all things related to the preparation and development of youth baseball players, coaches, and yes, even parents. So sit back, settle in, and get ready to hear from some of the greatest baseball minds out there.
Yeah, absolutely. The coaches out there, you're working with these athletes. You have an impact on their life, so the way you go about your business, the way you show up each and every day, your mindset, you're setting the example, you're setting the tone. And then your coaching aspect, it's an art. It's an art, and I always love to say the art of coaching, but fine-tuning either techniques or even motivating your players to get the best out of them. And you need to understand, your team, and you need to have a feel for your team, and you need to know when to push guys, when to back off, and that's all about the art of coaching, so to speak.
This is going to be perfect. Get on your treadmill. Get on your elliptical bike, go jogging, get in the gym, put your AirPods on and listen to this because we're going to move in a different direction tonight. We have a professional athlete, strength and speed coach. He is the former minor league strength and conditioning coach for the Kansas City Royals. He was with them for 9 years. He also worked with the Tampa Bay Rays as their strength and conditioning coach, and he did that for 9 years also. He's a local guy. I could pretty much from where I live, I could throw a rock and hit where he grew up. But before you get that heart rate up, you work up a good sweat. Let's listen to a few words about the Six Tool app.
For baseball coaches like you, every game brings measurable progress. However, game time isn't the time for trial and error learning. Instead, have a proactive approach. Use Six Tool, the best baseball player development tool on the market. We provide a platform to level up your coaching strategy by helping you to quickly identify and address your players' knowledge of the game. By using our easy-to-implement interactive player quizzes, you can assess position-specific issues, overall baseball IQ, and much more. Win more games and develop better overall baseball players with effective off-the-field training. Visit us at 6-tool.com. 6 Tool. Get ahead in the game.
So I know you probably worked up a really good sweat by now. Let's welcome to the show strength and speed coach Joey Greany. Joey, thank you for coming on.
Jimmy, thanks so much for having me. I look forward to talking shop with you tonight.
Yeah, you know what's pretty cool, Joey, is that we have a lot of common friends. Okay, so you were on the All Me podcast with Don Hooten?
Yes, I was, yeah.
Don's a great guy.
About a year ago. Yeah, I love Don, yeah.
Yeah, Don's a great guy. He was a guest on my show. We've become friendly. Then you were also on the Zone Sports Academy podcast with Duke and Steve?
Yes, Duke and Steve, love those guys down in New Jersey, doing a great job down there developing so many baseball and softball players.
Yeah, fantastic people. And then, of course, Joseph Guzman, who if it wasn't for him, you and I would have never hooked up.
Oh, absolutely. Joe, an amazing guy, amazing scout, really knows a lot about the game inside and out.
He was one of my first guests way back when, and it's amazing. I say it all the time. People on the show are probably getting tired of hearing me say it, is that the relationships that are built through this show are amazing. You know, like I said, Joseph came on the show, and ever since then, the conversation hasn't stopped for 4 years. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's a small world too. It's, the baseball, it's an incredible game, and we're able to share the experiences together and tell our stories. And, it's truly an amazing experience.
Yeah, it really is. All right, so let's jump into it here. So, the thing that's really curious to me is what really inspired you to be a strength and conditioning or a strength and speed coach?
Yeah, so great question. Growing up in the Hudson Valley area, I was always interested in sports. Played multiple sports growing up, but I really enjoyed the training side of things, the fitness side. I always wanted to try to get an extra edge on my competition, whether that's increasing my strength or explosive power or my speed. So I was always interested in that. So like I said, I played multiple sports. I was into martial arts. I competed in the Junior Olympics and the World Championships. I played baseball, college baseball, played a couple years in the collegiate leagues. But then I went to school and I wanted to learn more about the training aspects. So I studied exercise science. Upon graduation, I remember to this day, I was sitting with my academic advisor, and he was telling me about strength training, about conditioning and speed training, and how you can work as a coach in college settings, in professional settings such as Major League Baseball or the NFL or the NBA, NHL, or even the Olympics. And I was just, blown away at that somebody could do it, do that and make money doing it. And so ever since that conversation that we had, it was right before graduation, he printed out the National Strength and Conditioning Association webpage. And I took it and I walked back to my dorm room. I'm walking up the hill and I'm like, this is what I want to do, and I started studying for my exams, my certifications, and I went ahead and passed those. And then in 2008, I started, I flew out to Surprise, Arizona to meet the Kansas City Royals. And I spent 9 years there with some amazing people, coaches, staff members, players from all over the world. We had a lot of success there during that time. And so I spent 9 years, different minor league affiliates. And then I transitioned into the major league role as an assistant strength conditioning coach with the Tampa Bay Rays in 2017. And been there ever since. And again, so many incredible people there doing great work. So, that's kind of a brief history how I got started into this. But I think it's an extremely important aspect of, being an athlete is a 24/7 commitment, right? You show up to practice, you show up to your games, but you got to realize, look, you got to take care of everything off the field. And that's in the form of sleep, nutrition, proper mindset. And that is going to set yourself up to have success long term.
I mean, that's amazing. So you went from college, then you went through all your certifications, and then you hopped right into the professional ranks. Is that right? I mean, that's amazing.
Yeah, it is. It happened pretty quickly. It is difficult profession to get in. So that's where, like you said, your networking does help. It's who you know to get your foot in the door. And then when you're in that door, you need to provide value and do great work in order to move up and keep gaining, experience and kind of moving up.
So that's interesting. The word that kind of stuck with me, what you just said, is that you have to provide value. So that's something that, I want youth coaches and young coaches out there to understand that's gold right there. As a coach, you have to provide value to your players. And, if you're a travel ball coach, your parents there, that was an important thing. I mean, I'm glad that you said it that way because, I think that a lot of people look at coaching and they don't understand that. Yeah, you need to provide that value to your people. That was great.
Yeah, absolutely. The coaches out there, you're working with these athletes. You have an impact on their life. So the way you go about your business, the way you show up each and every day, and your mindset, you're setting the example, you're setting the tone, and then your coaching aspect. It's an art. It's an art, and I always love to say the art of coaching. But fine tuning either techniques or even motivating your players to get the best out of them. And you need to understand, your team, and you need to have a feel for your team, and you need to know when to push guys, when to back off, and that's all about the art of coaching, so to speak.
Sure, absolutely. I agree with that 100%. So talk to me a little bit about young guys. I know I'm taking you a little bit out of your realm. You're used to working with professional athletes, but, let's take you back. Let's say you were coaching a, 12U travel team. How would you go about working with the players on their strength and conditioning?
Yeah, so I would keep it very basic, very simple. Again, letting them go out and develop. And I would use the slow cooker approach, so to speak. We're talking 12-year-old kids, got plenty of time. So I would kind of slow cook them. And I would focus on basic strength training movements, get them stronger, get their tendons, their ligaments, their bones a lot stronger. So the exercises would be very basic. And I always like to say, the exercises are basic, but the methods are advanced. And I would train them two to three times a week, get them stronger. Each session I would have strength training, plyometric training, so they're getting some explosive movements, some jumps, some core training, some mobility of the thoracic spine, so you get that rotation. You got to remember, baseball is a very rotational sport, especially around the hips, thoracic spine. So I would include some mobility exercises with that, and then also include the speed training. And I think that's a forgotten piece of a lot of our youth athletics. We do the strength training now. We go and do our lessons. We do our hitting lessons, our fielding lessons, our pitching lessons. But we forget that, we actually need to run. Whether you're playing the outfield, the infield, whether you're running the bases, you need to be explosive. So speed work would be also included into that. And then as simple to include, you can throw it right into your warm-up. It only takes a few minutes to do some acceleration drills or some resisted running before practice. But that's what I would do. I would keep it simple and have fun with it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you said it, because I see at the high school level a lot of kids that you would look at them and you would say, wow, this kid's got to be able to fly. And then he starts running. You're like, what the hell? And it's because of what you just said. And I'm sure it's because of, the way society is now, where the kids aren't as active as, say, I was when I was a kid, or you were when you were a kid. And they don't run. They don't do that explosive stuff to make themselves faster. So, yeah, that's something that I agree with you 100%. We need to work with them on, on training to run, and to run fast. It's hard,
Yeah, absolutely. And it only takes a few minutes. And, like I said, strengthening the hip flexors and the quad muscles, quadriceps, hamstrings are very important. But just that ability to have that explosive thigh switch will help get their legs a little bit stronger. And they'll be able to be a little bit more explosive when they go ahead and take off in acceleration.
Right. So I'm even going to take you back a little further here, because this is something that I kind of speak about a lot, where, baseball now starts as early as I've heard as 4 years old, so 4, 5, 6, 7-year-old boys, and they're trying to teach them, how to play baseball. And I feel that at those young ages, that we should, I don't want to say forget the baseball. If you want to work on some of their throwing mechanics, maybe some hitting stuff with them, fine. But at that age, I believe that we should start teaching them just how to move. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't say it any better. I think playing a variety of sports is very important at a youth age. Being active, just going out to the playground, running around, jumping around. I know from a personal standpoint, just watching my kids play, you just throw a ball out in the yard and just let them go have fun with it, and don't be afraid for them to fail either. I would, let them go out and fail and mess up and let them figure it out. I know, when my son was messing around with a golf club, and I just watched him for an afternoon. Eventually he kind of just figured out on his own how to hit it. So that's another thing too, as coaches and parents, we try to always step in and be like, you got to correct this and do this, get your arm up, do this. just take a deep breath and just let them figure it out. But I'd say be active. I mean, skateboard, ride bikes, climb trees, play dodgeball, just go around, run outside, get dirty, scrape your knees.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm really glad that you said that figure it out part, because I could not agree with you more. And I'll even go back to, when I was a younger coach, I thought that I had to be very mechanical in my instruction, and your hands go here, your hips have to do this, your feet have to do that. Well, now, and again, I'm talking about hitting. Now I just look at it like there's a few key items that I want you to do, and the rest, I want you to kind of figure it out, okay? Get your body to move the way your body wants to move to achieve whatever we're trying to achieve. What do you think?
Yeah, 100%. And we got to remember, too, a lot of this takes time, right? It takes hundreds of repetitions to get really good at something, if not thousands. So, like you said, I'd give them a couple key points, and then that's it. Just repetition, 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 repetition. And, before you know it, they're moving better, and performing better.
Yeah, because, everybody doesn't move the same way. Got one guy who's going to do it a little bit differently than another guy. And I think that's another thing that happens a lot is people try to create, they try to train in a cookie cutter fashion, and you can't do that because each kid is different.
Oh, absolutely. And the other thing, too, is we got to remember that, like you said, each kid develops differently. And a lot of times at the youth level, kids tend to compare themselves to other kids. And that's one of the worst things that we can do. Everybody's developmentally different, and some are a little bit more advanced, some are a little bit slower. But when I talk to youth athletes and they come to the speed camps, that's one of the things I preach upon is like, listen, don't compare yourself to other people. Focus on you, focus on what you can control, be consistent and disciplined in your training routine, and over time you will see the success.
Yeah. All right, so let's move a little bit towards skill development. So how do we work with players, at any age? Let me back up a little bit and say it this way. So here's a kid who's never done any strength and conditioning, all right? And we send them to Joey Greany to, get this work in. How are you going to start with them?
Yeah, great question. Yeah. First, we want to kind of assess where this player is, where this athlete is physically. And then from that point forward, then you layer in exercises and you layer in different drills and different methods to get that player from point A to point B. A short version of the answer. That's kind of how the process would work, or the system would work. And then as you're going and you're working with this player over the weeks and the months, that's when you're fine-tuning different things and you're adding different exercises, taking different exercises out, challenging the player a little bit more. But yeah, again, I would start out simple and then become more complex with that player, always. And I like to use the principle of progressive overload. And it's just gradually applying increased stresses over time.
Okay, so you said that you would meet with the player and you'd kind of assess. So what does that assessment look like?
Yeah, so you can have a movement assessment, different like a movement screen, kind of figure out where this player is from a movement standpoint, mobility standpoint, and then you could screen the player for strength assessment, kind of see where this player's at. There's a number of different devices to do that. If we're talking, we want to help this player, increase exit velocity. Well, one of the key factors is grip strength. So you can have a grip test with some of the different technologies that are out there that provide that. Lower body power, you can simply, jump on a jump mat, or if your facility has a force plate or your schools have force plates, go ahead and do that. You'll be able to get a tremendous amount of information from that. If you're doing speed testing, you can go ahead and run through timing gates, be able to figure out if this player's a good accelerator or a poor accelerator, or maybe a certain player needs more work with top end speed. They tend to slow down when they're rounding second base or third base, or when they're trying to score at home. So there's a number of different tests that you can do. I think we can, as an industry, get a little too complex and carried away with a lot of testing, and then we don't use that information. So, if you're a school I would go ahead and, have a simple test battery that you're able to use use and apply the information that you do gather to help your athlete.
Okay. Okay. And like you said, like a battery of tests, would it be, something like just seeing like how fast they run their 60?
You can do that. You can do a 40. You can do a 60. You can do a agility test, a 5-10-5 agility test. You can do like a reaction test for your infielders. In the weight room, you can do a mid-thigh pull test on force plates. You can do your counter movement jump. You just put your hands on your hips, squat down, jump up. You'll be able to get a jump number, a peak power number, and then you can use that to gauge your players over time and see if they're fatiguing. Then you can adjust their programming and go from there.
All good stuff. So what would you say like are maybe challenges let's use the word challenges that athletes face now? Because let's face it, the whole, and again, we'll go with baseball, everything has gotten very structured where, like I know my high school guys, we have strength and conditioning that we start in January, okay? When I was a kid, there was none of that. We showed up for pitchers and catchers, and that was the end of it, and we went into our season. So tell me, like, what kind of challenges are these kids facing?
Yeah, great question. I would say a lot of challenges. A lot of it's probably off the field, but yeah, as far as within the team setting and the training setting, I think we get a little bit too overcomplicated with a lot of the drills, a lot of the exercises, either from a skill standpoint or a strength and conditioning standpoint. And in reality, we got to get really good and master the fundamentals and master the basics. And then when you can do that, then you can go on to some of more advanced training, more advanced practices. But I think we tend to get carried away with, with the age of the internet and Instagram. I think a lot of coaches see different drills online, but then we forget, like, where does that fit in to the overall picture, right? You've got to kind of zoom out and take an overhead look at 12 months, at 2 years, at 5 years, at 10 years of working with a lot of the youth players.
That's interesting because, again, I scream about it all the time. Fundamentals. I can't tell you what I see at the high school level with just baseball fundamentals that are missing because, maybe guys are getting too complicated when they're younger and they're not teaching them the simple things. And you have to do it in baby steps. And like you said, as time goes by, I'm thinking that, things shouldn't start to get really too complicated until maybe your junior, senior year in high school. Before that, it's all about fundamentals. Learn how to play the game. So again, same thing with the strength and conditioning. If you take it in small bites, you're going to be better. And then junior, senior, you want to prepare for college. You got to ramp it up, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. And everybody, again, is different. Everybody develops differently, and depending on where you grow up, in certain parts of the world, you may be a little bit more advanced in your training than others. And then, that's up to the coach to decide, if he has a team of, say, 26 players, it's like, okay, here's more of my advanced players. This is the type of training we can do with them. Here's some of the players, like, look, this player, especially at the professional level and at the elite levels, they get paid to play sports, right? In-season strength and conditioning is secondary, but we're trying to best prepare our players to go out and play the game that night at the major league level. So that's another thing to keep in mind at the elite level. But slow cook them down in the youth levels.
So then even at, again, we'll say the high school level, should there be like game time preparation as far as strength and conditioning is concerned, prior to the game?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. 100%. I think at the high school level, I think even workouts before the games would be fine. If the team's training 2 times a week and it happens to fall on a day game, no problem. Yeah. If anything, that type of training should go ahead and prepare them for the game. It should help them for the game physically. So it's not about going into the weight room, getting crushed and trying to set personal records or, outlift your buddy in the weight room. Do the work that is required, right, to increase stress, to promote that performance effect, but not enough to where you crush yourself and you can't go out and compete. Right. So again, we got to keep that in mind too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it kind of like brought me into where I was going next with this, and I wanted to talk a little bit about overtraining or burnout in athletes. I mean, is that a reality?
Yeah. So from my experience, overtraining, I see more players being undertrained nowadays than overtrained.
Okay.
Yeah, especially coming into different camps, I would say more so, probably more on the undertrained than overtrained.
Wow, that's interesting. Because, I mean, again, like I said, now, I mean, I know my players, that's all I hear them saying, I have to lift today, I've got to go do this today, all strength and conditioning stuff, alongside their baseball training, but under training, wow.
Yeah, and I mean, the body can take a lot, but here's the thing, like I said, the strength training, the conditioning, the speed training, that just sets off the alarm, right? And the true growth happens outside of the gym, which I mentioned earlier, in the forms of sleep, nutrition, and proper mindset. So you're using the weight room to ignite that stress, but then that recovery aspect. So if the players are continuing, they're coming in, they're fatigued and they're gassed, it's like, okay, well, what are you guys doing off the field? What's your nutrition like? What's your sleep like? Who are you spending time with? Who are you allowing into your space, into your ear? Are they energy drainers, right? Are they just completely draining the energy out of you? Or are they building you up and providing you with energy? So that's the other thing too, to keep in mind.
It's funny. It's almost like you read my mind, because the next thing I was going to was how important is nutrition.
Yeah, that's a big thing, is nutrition, and and I get it too. The youth, these kids are just nonstop, right? They're in school all day. They're not like professional athletes where, they're having meals provided for them, and the top training and the top recovery protocols and strategies. But yeah, the youth levels, nutrition, hydration is another thing. I think a lot of times kids, they'll play a doubleheader, they play a game, they just go home, probably sip a couple, take a couple sips of water and, hang out, watch TV, and then eat a little bit and go to bed. Whereas, you really got to be mindful. Once that game's over, once that practice is over, have a protein shake, get in the shower, change, go home, have a good meal, work on some breathing drills, really quiet your mind, quiet your body, get into a good, solid sleep and in a good solid sleep routine. But yeah, nutrition's huge, and you have in-game snacks. I see teams playing and they're just sipping on water during the game. They're not fueling with the electrolyte drinks, or they're not having carbohydrate snacks in the dugout or, on the sideline. So that's a simple, easy fix that, the teams can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was something that, and I'm pretty sure it was Alan Jaeger when he was on the show, said that we were talking about pitchers, and he said that when they're done pitching, the first thing is drink a lot of water. As soon as you're done pitching, drink a lot of water. And, then he went on to say other things, but you would kind of alluded to the same thing. But yeah, I know that, nutrition is very important. Yeah, hydrating. I know that I'm guilty of not hydrating enough.
Yeah, and a lot of it comes down to preparation prior to practice, prior to the game. You got to think about, okay, my game's starting at 4:00, probably in high school. It's going to end at 6:30 or so. What's my fuel after the game? And either maybe you have to pack a cooler, have your parents bring something, have something available quickly to start that recovery process right away. Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense. The next thing and this is something that I kind of deal with, is multi-sport athletes and overlapping seasons. How does this work? Because, you may be lifting for football, let's say. There's a lot different than lifting for baseball, which is different than lifting from basketball. Do you have any way to navigate this?
Yeah, that's a tough one. if you're playing two sports in the same season, that's probably really where it gets tricky. I mean, if you're competing in football in the fall, winter, and then you have some training built up, and then you're starting your baseball season, I think that's a little bit different. It's probably a little bit easier to navigate. But what gets me is if you're playing, basketball and soccer, or basketball and football, two fall sports at the same time, how do you do that? So again, I would play both the sports, right? They're different sports, but I would keep the strength training pretty much basic during the in-season training phases. Yeah. Keep it basic, something in the middle where it targets both. But but at that point, I'd be really, really, really mindful of the recovery, which is nutrition, sleep, hydration, mindset, and not so much their strength training, which once or twice a week with a high school kid would be fine.
Would be fine, yeah. Because we run into that a lot. Like I'll give you a perfect example is we will start our strength and conditioning right after New Year's, and when we're doing our sessions, football is also coming into the weight room, and they're doing their lifting also, and some of the kids are football players, so they're like torn. Do I do my baseball stuff? Do I do my football stuff? What do I do? And I mean, as the baseball coach, I'm saying, well, we're getting ready for baseball season. Football doesn't start till August. But they, the coaches want them doing it, and it becomes a little bit of a problem.
Yeah, it gets tricky. And in that point, I would, like you said, I would focus on whatever sport is close enough to the in-season phase. That's probably the training that I would do. But for, something like that, you can just create an individual program for that player. So you can sit down and say, okay, we're going to take this stuff in from football. We're going to take this stuff in from baseball. We're going to kind of mix it together, make it our own. Enough to prepare this kid physically, but not enough to completely drain them to where they can't play their season.
Right. Yeah, and that's what my fear is. One part of me said, and we actually have a trainer in the school that comes up with the programs for the kids, so I don't have that kind of input, but I looked at it like, well, it's January, it's February. If they're doing heavy lifting then, like the football team would be doing, maybe it's not such a bad thing, but once we get in season, then that's got to stop.
Yeah, then the volume is going to go down a little bit, right? Yeah, intensity would stay relatively high, less volume. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So good. At least I'm doing something right anyway.
Yeah. There's no one right or wrong way. I mean, it's, ultimately if it works, but, again, you have to make sure, it's safe for the athletes, and, their perfect form and technique is very important.
I mean, that's another reason why I was so happy to have you come on the show, because that's one of my weaknesses. Not a big strength and conditioning guy. I just don't know what to do. That's why I'm glad the school has a trainer that handles it. And, talking to people like you, I could educate myself and learn. So
100%. Yeah, it's very important for baseball coaches, strength and conditioning, athletic training, to communicate daily to help their players, to give their players put the players in the best possible position physically to help their teams win. So, it's very important to continue to share the information that each department is getting.
Yeah. What do you see? I mean, or do you see any problems with young players specializing early? Or do you think it's a good thing?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's much of a good thing to specialize in a young age in just one particular sport, because I think you lose out on a lot of other physical qualities that different sports provide. So, for example, if you're just playing baseball, right? You're doing a lot of rotation, right? One way, you're swinging one way, throwing one way, or unless you're a switch hitter or a switch thrower, but that's pretty rare. But you lose out the ability of like the deceleration, the jumping components if you're just playing that one sport. Whereas if you played baseball in the spring and in summer, and you played, say, soccer or football or basketball or something like that, or even tennis in the fall and winter, you're going to have that deceleration component. You're working different planes of motion. You're putting your joints, your ligaments, your tendons under different stress at different intensities. And I think there's a transfer from some of the other sports into your your primary sport that you do play. So, which overall builds better athleticism, I would say.
Okay. All right. I mean, it makes sense. Like I said, I'm a big multi-sport athlete proponent. I think kids should play as many sports as they can. And then, I think I talked about it on the last show, is when you become a junior in high school, you want to start specializing, fine, because, you're not going to play multi-sports in college. That is really rare. So you should start preparing for that. So,
Yeah. And again, I mean, at the end of the day, the biggest thing too is to go out and have fun. Go out, have fun, compete, enjoy the experience, enjoy being in high school or college, the amateur, athletics, because, it doesn't last forever. So that's one thing I found out talking to many players over the years, but enjoy the experience where you are and the camaraderie with your teammates and your coaches.
Yeah, and I love that you said that, because, again, all of the coaches that I've had on the show, we all say the same thing. It has to be fun. I mean, I know me that I can be tough on my players. I've said it a million times. I can be. But, okay, we have a lot of fun. I want it that way. And matter of fact, one of my seniors from last year, after graduation and everything, I wished him luck. He's going on to play ball in college. And we were talking a little bit. And he said to me, Coach, if anything came out of me playing for you, he said, I had a lot of fun. And then I said to myself, you know what? I did my job.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got to be fun, because that's what they're going to remember, right? Most of the kids that you have are not going to be professional athletes, right? But some of them will go on and play college. But each one of them they're going to be somebody's father one day or mother one day, or, you just got to keep that in mind too. It's the principles that they're learning, the values that they're learning that under your coaching is going to kind of set them up for life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we always say, another thing we always say all the time is we're coaching people first before the player. That's what we're doing. And the more we can make good dads and good fathers and good mothers and all of this, then that's really what we're trying to do.
Yeah,
Baseball.
Yeah, 100%. That's what it's about, changing lives.
Yeah, yeah. So if you had a success story of somebody that you worked with when, let's say, they were a younger player and they went on and they benefited from the strength and conditioning and the speed training that you gave them, what would you say? Would you have a story?
Yeah. I like to, view our profession as a small piece in the pie, right? I think all of our successes are tied together, all of our departments. But one player does come to mind particularly. I remember as a player, young player, but at the major league level. I saw him one day come into the weight room, and I was asked some of the other guys on the team, and I was new to the organization at the time. I was like, who is this guy? And they're like, yeah, that's one of our starting pitchers. I'm like, really? And I watched him work for a few days, and there was really no routine. It was a bunch of random exercises, and I believe if you do a bunch of random, random training or random exercise, you're going to get random results. So, over the course of a few weeks, it developed a friendship, a relationship, and built some trust with the player. We laid out a plan. We mapped out a plan. We said, listen, I think if you can do this, this, and this, you'll benefit physically from this. And we went ahead and did that. And, the player over the course of the season did really well and continued the training on for 2 years, went on to win the Cy Young Award winner in 2018. And, but yeah, it was, amazing experience working with the player. Obviously, he's very, very talented, very gifted. But just seeing how his training transformed over the course of a few years was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that's fantastic. You want to share his name?
Blake Snell.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I mean, that's a great story. Because again, from my standpoint, I see a guy like that, and I assume that from a very young age, he's being very regimented. He knows exactly what he's doing. But you're saying he got up, to the professional level, and he still needed help, and you provided that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. We got to remember, a lot of kids, they grow up and, especially if their kids come from Latin America, they may not have a big university where they had a big strength and conditioning program. So then you get these players into your system, take their hand and go ahead and walk alongside them and show them all the fundamentals and the basics like we talked about. But then you'll have players that are coming from big universities and they have had major, incredible strength programs, conditioning programs, speed programs. So they're coming in advanced. So that's that's kind of what you're navigating at the elite levels.
That's fantastic. What would you say is the most rewarding part for you? Is it something like that where you work with these guys and you get to see that improvement?
Yeah, I would say the biggest rewards are, baseball is a long season, right? And I think, you're working with the player and you see these players day in, day out, right? And, they have a lot going on, and there's a lot of pressure with the game. But you're able to see these players day in, day out, and they're consistent, they're disciplined, they continue to put in the work. And, over the course of time, over the course of months, you see their success starting to pay off on the field. And they're having fun. They're being good teammates. We're winning ball games. And at the end of the day, you're spraying champagne in the clubhouse. It's just it's an incredible experience. Every year is different, but I would say that's probably one of the top experiences is working each and every day, grinding it out. And the season has its highs and its lows, and you just got to ride them out. But at the end of the day, when you're spraying champagne, it's really fun.
It's got to be tough, for you at that level. It's got to be a 7-day a week. 16-hour days, what you do working with these guys? It's got to be a lot of work for you.
Yeah, for strength conditioning, athletic training, our mental performance team, our nutrition, our sports science, our chiropractors, our massage therapists, physical therapists. There's a lot of people involved. It takes an army to keep these guys going each and every day. But yeah, it's 12, 13-hour days and, maybe 1 or 2 off days a month.
Wow.
Yeah. From February to, first week in November.
Right. And then what do? You get like November through maybe Christmas and then you're back at it again, right?
And then you're back at it. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you were to give advice to a parent who has a young athlete, what would you do? What would you say?
I would say, let your child enjoy the experience. Let them have fun. Let them play with their teams. I would say, whatever they do, be consistent, have discipline, be a good teammate. But at the end of the day, it's just about having fun, enjoying the experience, building that camaraderie with the teammates, because that is what they're going to remember. They're not going to remember I went 3 for 5. Maybe they will, but most likely they're not going to remember they went 3 for 5, 2 doubles, when you play hundreds of games. But they will remember like, hey, I remember that guy, he was a great teammate. He picked me up when I was down. He motivated me. So I would say just let them go out and enjoy the experience, have fun. And at the end of the day, remember, like, look, athletics, it's a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that a lot of parents lose sight of that it is, in fact, a game, and they lose sight of the fact that very few kids go on. I mean, even if you take the recreational baseball players, very few of them actually go on to play high school ball. Forget about college, forget about pro. Very few play high school. Then you take those high school players, and very few of them play, college baseball, and then you take professional athletes, I mean, and they're freaks of nature. They're just not the same as everybody else. And I think that parents lose sight of that it's about having fun because, like my brother used to say all the time, everybody's career comes to an end. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, absolutely. Even the elites, even the top players, eventually their career comes to an end. But, and it's not to say, don't go out and try your best. Yes, absolutely. Go out and try your best. Go out to win games. That's why you play the game, is to win. Absolutely. 100%. But then after the game or after the practice, like, hey, that's it. Like,
yeah.
It's over. Yeah.
I mean, those numbers are not to, or that perspective, I'll say, is not to crush anybody's dreams, because I agree with you 100%. Yeah, you want to be the next Derek Jeter. You want to be the next, and you want to fight for that. Okay, but just reality is, take it as far as you can, but have fun on the way. And that's it. Right?
That's it. Yeah.
So I know you have this strength and speed camp coming up in my backyard in Poughkeepsie. Tell people where they can find out more about you, where they can find you for training programs and that type of thing.
Yeah, so the camp is December 7th and 8th. It's a speed camp. It's a 2-day camp, 2 hours at a time. We're going to bring the athletes in. We're going to talk to them about speed, the importance of developing speed in the off season and in the in season. We're going to test them with timing gates, so they're going to be able to see their 10-yard fly time and be able to get their miles per hour in their running speed. And then they'll be able to compare themselves with the other camps in their age group across the country with the other camps that I have going on. But we're going to work on acceleration, so we're going to work on proper like shin angle, forward lean, the ability to be able to push down and back during acceleration. So that's like the first 5 to 6 steps. So if you're coming out of the box, you take a hard swing, those first 5 to 6 steps, how quickly are you getting out? We're going to do some top end speed running. So that would be your ability to maintain top speed, top running velocity, say from going, if you're scoring from first base. We don't want our players slowing down. We want to be able to maintain that speed as long as possible. So we're going to do that on day 1. Day 2 is more focused on agility and reaction training. So we're going to work on their ability to be able to decelerate, change directions, be able to react, because remember, in-game action requires players to be quick and be able to react quickly, right? So we're going to work on that. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to compete. We're going to have fun. We have T-shirts for all the participants. There's some discounts on a variety of different fitness and training equipment that we offer. So they'll be able to have a discount on that, discounts on supplements. I'm going to also provide a PDF of the workout so they can take home with them. And then they also have the ability to contact me during their either in season or off season for monthly coaching. And I provide coaching through an app that I have. So simply just, all I do is just get their email. They're sent the link. They download the app and they can access their training. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's in Poughkeepsie, New York. So the website is joeygrainy.com/New York. And they can go there, they can register, they can read all about the camp, the 2 days, what they're getting. It's going to be a fun event, fun experience. And they're going to get really good coaching.
So that's the one in Poughkeepsie. But I'm assuming.
So you got the Poughkeepsie, New York, yeah.
I'm assuming you do them all over the country, right?
Yeah, and then I have one on December 14th in Bridgewater, New Jersey, at Zoned at Duke Baxter's facility. We did one there last year. We had over 60 players. But I like to really take our time with these athletes and work on them. So what they, whatever they learn and develop at the camp, they can go home and continue to train with. And like I said, I do provide the PDF workout, and I do have the available coaching through the app. But and then December 17th or December 20th and 21st is Florence, Alabama. That camp is filling up quickly. We're going to have a lot of we're going to have tremendous turnout there. A lot of great athletes in Alabama are coming out to that one. And then North Carolina, Goldsboro, North Carolina is going to be in January. I think that's January 11th and 12th. Goldsboro, North Carolina. Again, we're going to have some incredible athletes. They're already starting to book that too. So,
well, that's great. I mean, keep it up because I think it's a great service for everybody, because this is something that you really don't hear about it a lot. I think, I'll be honest with you, I think that, this one in Poughkeepsie is the first one that I ever heard of, a strength and speed camp. So keep up the good work. And what I'm really interested in is that app. I mean, can anybody sign up to get that app?
Yeah, so just have them reach out. They can reach out to me just through my email, joeygrainy at gmail.com. Let me know they're interested. We can set up a quick phone call, then I'll send them the link to download the app so they're under my training.
Okay. All right, great, because that's something that I would...
And all the exercises have videos and everything and detailed notes, and they're able to take me on as a personal coach each month.
Yeah, no, I mean,
afar.
and I'm assuming there's a cost involved with it, which there should be, right?
Yeah, it is very affordable. It's very affordable.
Good.
So, yeah, I sign up different teams, one-on-one coaching. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic, because I tell you right now, that's going out to my team. I want them all, both the JV and varsity guys to get in touch with you, because this is fantastic stuff. Well, listen, congratulations on the new baby girl. That's great news. And
Thank you.
I want to thank you for coming on. This has been very, very interesting, and I'm sure that everybody got a lot out of it.
Well, thanks for having me, Jimmy. It was great, talking with you, and congratulations on all your success, and keep doing a solid job developing these high school athletes.
Thanks, Joey. I appreciate it. You know what? Before you go, give everybody your social media stuff on X, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. Let them, so they know where to follow you.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on social media. It's just at Joey Greany, JoeyGreany. I'm on LinkedIn, X, Instagram, Facebook. So please reach out, introduce yourself, and see where I can help.
Great. All right, Joey. So hopefully I'll be able to get up to Poughkeepsie to see you when you're here and say hello in person. And, once again, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it. This was great.
Thanks, Jimmy. Have a great night.
You too, Joey. So I hope that we were all able to learn a little bit about the world of athletic performance, about strength and speed with Joey Greany. I mean, we don't touch a lot on this stuff on this show, but I thought it was important to bring it out, because I really believe that people need to know the importance of focusing on core stability, mobility, and balance, which is really the foundation for athletic performance. And, I think Joey touched on it a bit. Speed isn't just about sprinting. It's about being explosive, having explosive movements, good reaction time. When he talked about doing the 5-10-5 drill, and there's another drill that we do, it's a box drill where we work on quickness. And, I don't think that there's anybody out there better than Joey to explain what athletes need to be doing to improve their athletic performance. It's not just about lifting heavy weights. It's about moving better, feeling stronger, and staying in the game longer. It's also about staying healthy, getting the right amount of sleep, eating right. There's just so much in here that you could take away and hopefully, help your young athletes to get better. So, if you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Visit the website at thectbshow.net. Leave us a review, even sign up to be a guest. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content and reach more people in the baseball community just like you. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, reach out to us on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and please drop us an email, clearingthebases@gmail.com. Once again, thanks for tuning in, and I can't wait to see you back here for the next episode. Until then, coaches and players, keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you on the next one.